Is free will changing? Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. What a question this is. Free will, you would say, is free will. I mean, how can that change? It's either free or it's not free. Well, it is how you perceive it, dear ones. Let's set some examples. You go into a store and there are 5 items and you have free will to select any of them. Go ahead, select 1 or 2 or 5. You can do anything you wish. The next day you go into the store and there were 15 to 20 items. Question: did your free will change? The answer is your free will didn't change, but what you could do with it did change. Suddenly, you can choose more items than you ever had before. So the freedom of choice remained the same. But you might say suddenly it got enhanced because that store changed. Now, if you want a controversial one, I'm going to give this one to you as well. Free will. Do you have the freedom to walk on water? And you would say, well, if I was really stupid, I could try. And then there might be somebody who then walks on water. And you might say, what's the difference? What if it changed so much that the physics around you allowed for it? Would you say then that your free will had changed, or would you say instead that you had a greater choice than ever before? That is the subject right now. And it's a grand subject. It's a beautiful subject. And it's one that I love to give to you. I told you before that that thing you call the veil is starting to lift. You might say instead of lifting, it's becoming thinner, because it's not really a veil, it's not really a curtain. It's an energy that up to now has separated dimensions. And that energy that separates dimensions is started to change mainly because of the consciousness of the human being. A consciousness, by the way, which has energy. Consciousness is energy. Someday it will be a player in physics itself when it can be measured correctly, properly, and analyzed to what it is. And it is indeed part of a multidimensional scenario. So if that which you call the veil is starting to thin, that means that there is far more that can go between it. We have said before, it's almost like that veil is beginning to thin out, so a lot more things are pouring through it. But what we didn't mention is this. That veil has always been two-way. You don't think of it that way. You think of it as a heavenly kingdom over on one side, and you would say you're on the other. Your soul is over there, you're over here, it's black or it's white. In some cases, it's been so thick that there are those who are spiritual who say you cannot even speak to God because that's too sacred, the veil is too thick, you've got to go by communication with somebody else. And they somehow are going to get through that veil where you cannot. That's how you've always thought about the separator, you might say, between that which is sacred and that which is you. Now we are saying, reframe your thinking about what it truly is. Think of it as an energy that can be fine-tuned with a knob, and it can be a full wall or it can be invisible. Full wall or invisible. And the density of it also changes. Up to now, it's been pretty thick. Not much has really gotten through it for eons. And it always has had that same feel about it, about you sitting in prayer or trying to connect with the other side, or being frustrated perhaps that it worked yesterday and didn't work today as well. Now think of you changing that dial, and suddenly it's a lot more transparent. Now I said something a moment ago, and I want to enhance it. You have always been able to go back and forth in this veil. This is you communicating with that which is the soul part of you. That's where the higher self is. And that's part of what the tuning is of what we would call the pineal gland. And that gland in you is the window to the soul, dear ones. And that we've always told you that there's a part of your body actually responsible for this. What this is saying, that you have to see and you know, and I want to really get across to you, is that the store that you're shopping in has gotten a lot bigger. And the choices using your free will are starting to become much, much larger. Now, I know I speak in metaphors, but let's get practical. How many of you tried in the past to talk to yourselves, as I've been telling you for years and years? And you might say, well, I've tried it and I don't see it, I don't feel it. Sometimes I'm talking to myself and I'll start laughing because I don't really think there's a bunch of little cells listening to me. I want you to rethink that entire thing, because there are. Let's review that for a moment, because one of the new tools, you might say, from an enhanced free will choice is you with your body. If you have a multidimensional body that is sacred, and you do, if the veil is starting to thin, what if that energy of your consciousness can now get through better than it ever has before? Kryon, understand, some of you are just coming on to this talk to your body thing. So let me review for a moment. Every cell in your body pays attention to the boss. And when I say pays attention, it truly is tuned to your consciousness. It has to be. Have you ever thought, this is your vehicle? All that is you takes its commands and the energy from the consciousness that you develop. So if somebody told you a long time ago, perhaps in medicine, you have no control over anything, you show up and hope everything works, that is beginning to change, and never really was the situation. But that's the perception. What if instead it goes like this? You show up and the consciousness of you is always seen as the boss. You might say the cellular structure of your body is always looking up to find out what the boss is asking. And there is where the energy of affirmations come in. You affirm that which is in your body is balanced and perfect. Your body hears it and does its best to be balanced and perfect. If you never talk to your body, it simply is on its own and does whatever it does. Are you getting this? This free will of yours has started to be enhanced, so now, more than any other time, you can look at the body and say, thank you, I love you, here is what I want. Here is what we're going to do. Pain be gone. There is no reason for pain, dear body. It doesn't contribute to the magnificence of who you are. So let's get rid of it now. And you start working with your body in so many ways. Disease, you are not appropriate. Dark things, you are not appropriate. It's a conversation that we've always told you is possible. Now even your free will is enhanced so that it can be grander and greater than ever before. And that's for you. Is this practical enough? Or does it sound foolish? Why don't you practice it? Why don't you see if you can get in touch with those cells in your body? And don't be surprised if there's a sudden shift in your body, maybe even a little uncomfortability where it goes, who is talking? I've never heard your voice before. And you go, well, it's me. And the entire body will take a breath of fresh air, you might say, and say, finally, she's talking to me. Finally, he's talking to me. You have control over so many things you never thought you did. And that's just one simple part of the amazing enhancement and change of free will. Yes, free will is changing. It's getting better. And so it is. If you enjoyed this channeling, you might also enjoy the weekly program It Came From, Wednesdays with Kryon, a heartfelt 90-minute program with more of what you've just experienced. Why not join us?